In exercise 305, we move to worded problems. So obviously you have to pay close attention to the words. An obvious word, as you can see in the title, is this word variation. The other really important word is direct. If we've got direct variation, it enables us to write the equation, and that's what we have to do in this exercise. So from the worded question, you will be required to write an equation. Just a few things. With direct variation, something to note is you'll have a situation where when x increases, y also increases. And similarly, if x decreases, then y decreases. So some examples, pretty obvious example would be something like as the amount of money you earn increases, so too does the amount of things you can buy. So if x was the amount of income you had and it's increasing, the amount of things that you can purchase also increases, and that could be y. Sometimes, as you can see here says, sometimes the words directly proportional are used instead of increases or varies directly. So you're looking for the clues in the words, and these also are words to be looking for, because your equation, that will tell you how to get started with your equation. If you can see over here in this table, there are lots of different ways in which x and y can vary. So if it's y varies as directly in terms of x, we will have an equation of the form y equals kx. And I'll talk about k in a moment. If y varies as the square of x, we've got y equals k because it varies directly. But you can see here the square of x means we write our equation with an x squared. Can you see how I'm taking the words and I'm forming an equation? This is what you will be required to do in a question. Y varies as the cube of x, and you could probably see that you'll have this y equals k, because we don't know by how much it varies, but we do know we need to cube x. And y varies, y equals k, times the square root of x. So the words enable me to write down the beginning of an equation. It's not the complete equation when it's in this format, but it's the beginning. So you're reading the words very carefully, looking for keywords such as direct, square, cube, square root, and also proportional. You will select one of these, the y equals kx, or the y equals kx squared, or this one, or this one. How will you know which one of those to begin your answer with? It will depend on the words in the question. And you can see that it's not a very helpful equation as yet. Y equals, for example, k times the square root of x. We need to find this value of k, so we must find the value of k. Now, you've heard me say many times that in an equation, if we're finding k, it can be the only unknown. We must have a number that goes in the y spot and a number that goes in the x spot. So that information will be given in the question so that you can then substitute for x and y. And once you've done that and you've solved for k, you can then write your equation. Let's have a look at this example. It says the distance d that the that can be travelled by Grace's car is directly proportional to the volume. So they're not using X and Y, they're saying that D is directly proportional. So I can start off D equals K to the volume times V. Now, it's not the volume squared or the square root of the volume or any of that. It's just D equals KV. Grace's car can travel 465 kilometres on 48 litres of petrol. This is the information that we will use to find the value of K. Also, you can see here that I've used the pronumerals that they have suggested in the question. If they don't make a suggestion, you could stay with your Y and your X. So your first line would have been something like Y equals, you could have Y equals KX as I've shown there. And eventually we would replace the Y with a D and the X with a V. So, to find the variation equation for D. Now, like I said, you could be working in terms of Y and X. However, I think it's easier in an example like this to go with the D and the V because it was given. So for now, I know that D is equal to KV. But I was given this information that I've underlined there in red so that I can work out the value of K. So the Grace's car can travel 465 kilometres, tells me the distance. 465 K times, and the volume of petrol is 48 litres. There you can see I've created an equation. It only has one unknown. So we think about how we solve an equation like that. How do we get the value of K? Well, because it's being multiplied by 48, to get the K by itself, we divide by 48. So we've got that K is equal to this number, 465 divided by 48. Now, the really important thing is I put that into here so that I get the equation D is equal to 465 on 48 times V. You can see I haven't gone to my calculator to see what that fraction is. It doesn't really matter. You can, if you like, as long as you don't round off a decimal. Don't ever round off a decimal. You can, otherwise, you can just leave it as the fraction. So that becomes my variation equation. I can calculate D if I know V, or I can find V if I know D. So you'll see a couple of those situations. It says, how far? How far? That says, find D. How far is a measure of distance? So we're finding the distance. Can Grace's car travel on 56 litres of petrol? So we're finding D if V is 56. So I write the equation that I've just created. This D equals 465 on 48 times V. You can see I've been given V, so I put it into the equation. So I've got this 465 on 48 times 56. When you do that calculation, you get 1085 on 2 kilometres, and changing your fraction to a decimal using your calculator F to D button, then you'll get 542.5 kilometres. What have we found? We found that Grace's car can travel 542.5 kilometres on 56 litres of petrol. Part C. How many litres of petrol? There's your question. So that says find what in your equation represents the litres of petrol. That's V. You're finding V when the distance is 200. Answer correct to 1 decimal place. And by the way, this one was nearest kilometre, so we would say 543, making sure we answer to the requirement of the question. So I'm going to find V when D is 200. I write my equation, always write the equation. this time I know that D is 200, so in this spot I'm writing 200 is 465 times, divide by 48 times V. I want to get that V by itself. So we've practiced all of this back in the algebra chapter. I will need to multiply by 48, so I'll multiply by 48. But then I would need to divide by 465, so I divide by 465. When you do that calculation, you get that V is equal to 640 on 31 as a fraction. We can't leave it like that because the question says answer correct to 1 decimal place. So again, all you need to do is press F to D and your calculator will come up with 20.64. Our instruction is to 1 decimal place. We're cutting it off after the 6 and the 4 won't impact on the 6. So to 1 dp it requires 20.6 litres. So as usual you can fill out your summary and your key points and get started on exercise 305.